So in this section of the course, we're going to talk about something you don't often see in certification courses or exams, and that is the guiding principles in AI, but what some can consider to be the moral and ethical considerations of artificial intelligence. We already discussed that artificial intelligence is pretty much everywhere. We're going to find this in our cars, in our traffic lights. We'll find this in job applications. We'll find this in advertising, lots of different places where AI is now prevalent. And a few years ago, Microsoft wanted to say that we need to have a discussion over what is right and what is wrong. Because if we just blindly let computers start to make decisions on their own, not programmed by an individual, but generally looking at the data and making their own decision, then there's such a thing as unintended consequences. Now, I'm going to define unintended consequences as things that are outside of what people would have decided on their own. If you had a human make the decision, they'd make one decision, but a computer makes the decision and it makes a different decision. Now, some of those decisions are just wrong. So if you don't give that computer that human guidance, they can make mistakes. And some of the decisions can actually be against the law in some jurisdictions, or at least go against your own company's values. There are decisions that are not rationally explained, so you can't explain with a good reason why the computer did this. And we even have to consider a society as a whole. Right now, we're facing things in social media with Twitter and Facebook and other companies where algorithms are deciding what to show to individual people, and we're starting to see consequences of when the algorithm is optimizing for the wrong thing, and that might be clicks or views, and that ends up with life consequences. So let's look at some of the examples. I pulled these out of some of our news articles, certainly not the latest news articles, but there are some unintended consequences of using AI. I remember when the iPhone first came out with the facial recognition to unlock it, and then almost immediately reports came in that it mainly worked on Caucasians, men, and that women and darker skinned people had difficulty using this feature. I'm not sure how far they've improved that, but some of that came down to them just not having enough test subjects across the broad spectrum of people. And so we have these features of computers that work great for one class of society and do not work great for people who don't exist inside that class. There's also a news report here saying Amazon was using AI to screen resumes before, humans were getting involved. And it was somehow made the decision that male candidates were preferred, and that they had to sort of realize that, and they ended up not using that after a while. So when we have AI involved, it could make better decisions, but it could also make decisions such as this, which is just, screening out people because of their gender. And here's an example of decision-making software in hospitals who, according to this article, have a racial bias in them. So they're not serving all communities equally well. And here's an article talking about the Calgary police using face recognition software in their body cameras. So they wear body cameras and then they try to recognize the people that appear on them. And people need to have that conversation, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. This would public and the lawmakers need to know that this is happening and at least have a conversation over whether they want to live in a society where computers are recognizing your face out in public without you knowing. Maybe this goes a bit too far, but I came up with this example of how it can start off with quite an innocent thing where you install a sensor at intersection. Some traffic control department needs to know the number of cars traveling over a particular intersection, and so they install a sensor, and then those sensors become cameras because there's technology involved. And then someone comes along and says, hey, we have cameras, we can actually read the license plates. And finally, the police realize they have a record of the traveling of every car in the city in the last several years, and they can start to use those records for police investigations. Some of you might be horrified by this, and some of you might say, oh, there's nothing wrong with police using whatever data they have available to investigate a crime, except if you replace the police with someone who is perhaps got a criminal intent. So if criminals were to access the records and they can understand the travel dates, times, places of every person that lives in a city what could they do with that information? So Microsoft has come out with these 6 guiding principles that should guide AI development. They are fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. So you should keep a note of these are the 6 guiding principles of AI development. In the next video, we're going to start to go through these one by one, explain what they mean, and give you some examples of this. Hi guys, this is Scott Duffy from GetCloudSkills.com, and I would love to invite you. I do have courses on all of them, and the links are in the description. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below this video.
Thank you so much for watching. Click the thumbs up button if you like this video. There's the subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos like this as I create them.